Queen Jane is back. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Jess. I'm still fighting the blue calming. Oh, Jane, I didn't see you got a bit of denim work going on. That's great, Jane, you fantastic human. Oh, and Susan in. Hi, Susan, my darling. Are you well? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
It is
Did
wonderful.
you know we had an earthquake in Jamaica this week, but it no there was no serious damage.
Oh,
Are
my love. We've heard about all sorts of earth tremors happening around the world. Didn't know it hit Jamaica. You please look after yourself and stay safe. Stay safe. We're getting a bit of a breakthrough. And this second Susan, you can never have enough Susans. Good evening to Susan from New York City. It is lovely to see you.
Hi, Tara. Good evening, everybody.
Wonderful to see you. We've got our two Susans, so we can start the gig now. And Jelly's in. Hello, my darling. It's lovely to see you. You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
Your hair is just fantastic. Oh, brilliant, magnificent. And Ruth is in. Hot enough for you, Ruth?
Coffee.
Great to see you, darling one. Josh is in the house, and wonderful Paul has joined us. Paul, you are legendary. Great to see you. Good evening, sir. Good, very late evening to you, mate. And wonderful Edith is in. We'll say hello to Edith. We'll see if she would like to present her glorious face at some point. But it's lovely to see Edith. I think of you so often. So, colleagues, welcome to Right Club. Oh, this is exciting. So, team, let's go hard. Jess, I want powerful work. I want courageous work. I want PhD work, no feasibility work. You with me, girlfriend? Do I get a yeah?
No, I have to do the feasibility. I have to jump through my hoop, Tara.
Okay, jump through your hoops, but head to the horizon. Do we have
Then
a
I'll
deal?
do it. Do it.
Fantastic. All right, team. We'll see you on the other side. Beautiful. Julie's joined us as well. Good luck, everybody. Work hard. Let's make some change. Let's do this. See you in 29 minutes. Yay. Great to see you, Dina.
Sorry, Tara. I'll need to step up before then because I have a supervisor meeting at 11, but I will catch up.
You are precious, my darling. It's lovely to ever see you, you star.
Thank
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Last minute, colleagues. Colleagues, we are finished. Oh, can I say, I've never seen beautiful Gay's picture before. Doesn't Gay look fantastic on that shot? Oh, Gay, I'm going to get my white jacket out. I tell you what, fantastic, Gay. We'll start with you go, Gay. I've never seen you with the white jacket. That looks very nice, Gay. Gay,
Thank you. It's actually not my white jacket, but I borrowed it.
gorgeous. Now, Gay, darling, we'll start with you. So how did you go? I can see Jess and I are still recovering. We were pretty immersed there, I think, Jess. So, Gay, what were you writing on, darling one?
I was not writing. I was collecting some data that I suddenly realized I had missed. So I was looking at and I was plugging in death dates for my cohort so that I can figure out how old they were when they died and get an average of longevity for my people.
Look, I'm so excited. I love a bit of death date work. I feel it's been one of those mornings, really. So I think we'll carry that forward. Good on you, Gay. That is phenomenal. Oh, I feel like getting a tattoo that says death date. I just think that's great. And of course, it links in beautiful. Megan's not with us, but she's doing work on the dash, which I love. And of course, those of you don't get the dash work between the date of birth and the date of death. So she's actually looking at, in social work, the idea of the dash, which I love. I think that's fantastic. So you go, Gay, with the death date. That is fantastic. Let's go to Paul. Paul, you are legendary. You have been missed, brother. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you. I realised as logging on that our clocks changed in the UK, so I missed office hours due to a clock change. So yeah, that's annoying. But I'm good. I spent that time writing my proposal to be elected to join the Research and Ethics Committee at our university.
Oh, I'm excited. Right. So is this a competitive process? So there's like scrag fights in the car park over getting onto this particular committee?
It's a committee that there are 10 people that are fighting for election on the committee, of which I'm one of those 10. But I'm within the early stage or early career researcher pathway. So I'm within a kind of subcommittee of 4 that I've got to be elected. So I've been just putting together my proposal for that.
I tell you what, you'd be fantastic for that, because we need, as we'll talk about in Digital Office Hours next week, I'd imagine, we need someone who's got that capacity to explore practice-led research and what ethics looks like in that space, in particular, in the artifact exegetical space.
Yeah, and that's a lot of my kind of election talk was around the synthesis of kind of those interdisciplinary views on practice-based and practice-led research, and moving research into the practical space, as well as, you know, inputting my research on sustainable research methods and practice. So we'll see how it goes.
Can you give us the update on it? I'm really excited. I think you'll get it. I think you'll get it, Paul. I think you'll get it.
Hope so. 10th of November is when the results are given. So yeah, what was that? By next week we should have an idea of what's going on. But I'll definitely make office hours next week to discuss the stuff we spoke about.
We'll send happy energy out to the universe, Paul. I'm really excited about that. Sustainability, sustainable research, it's everything. Good on you, Paul. Can we go to it? It's half hot out here in it, Ruth. Let's go to Ruth. Yeah, you look about as hot as I feel. I'm sitting directly under air conditioning. Okay,
Yeah, me
so
too.
wow, Ruth. So through the heat, mate. What do they call this time? The build up. Through the build up. What
We'll all
we're
be
running on.
we'll all be going tropical by this time next week.
They call it mango madness, don't they? I love that.
Yeah,
So-
it's for anyone who's not here. It's a tough time of year.
And I thought it was all made up, to be honest, Ruth. I thought, the people are over-egging this. And actually, they're not. And can I say, every time I've gone in the vehicle, so I only have a little tiny drive between home and work and the gym. Every time I've driven, there's someone that's had a car accident. So clearly, bonkers things happen at this time of the year. People, I'm seeing fenders in the middle of the road. Oh, it's fantastic. So, Ruth, through this craziness, what were you riding on?
Well, my confirmation is finally here. I have it on Monday. And I had a run through with my supervisors yesterday, so I was just incorporating a few last minute updates to my presentation. And that was it. That's what I've been working on today.
And how have you found it? Because obviously we're going to go to Jess next. But how are you feeling? Tell us about how you're feeling.
I probably will be feeling very nervous on Monday, but I also probably was most nervous about presenting it to my supervisors. I feel like if they say you're good to go, then I feel I have confidence in their confidence.
Yes, I mean, Ruth, darling, the mock is always horrific. And
Okay.
and with my students, I intensify the horrific nature of it. So I sit there and I stare at them like this. And every question I can think of, I ask, and I do it to frighten the living sort of like internal organs out of them. So that
Yeah, no, that's working.
yeah, so nothing is as bad as that mock. So
Okay.
you'll be fantastic. And if a certain dean who's a friend of yours gets an invitation, or
Oh, do you want me to send it to you?
would that freak you out too much? I mean, I'll be quiet. I promise I'll behave. I'll be a good girl.
I'll send it on to you then.
Oh, I'm thrilled, Ruth. Good luck, Angel. We're with you. And Jess, let's not frighten Ruth. So, Jess, what were you writing on in your feasibility study?
Well, I know you'll be proud of me because I'm proud of myself. I flipped it. I couldn't do it. I didn't change it to the feasibility study. I wrote a paragraph about how if it won't fit in the time frame and if we don't get the number of participants, it can be scaled back to a feasibility study. And then we can look at how to run the bigger project. That's how I framed it. So I'm happy with that.
So isn't that a great paragraph? When you put the problem into the work, doesn't the universe change?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm still doing what I want to do. I'm just telling them that I've got a plan B and I'm not going to fall into a heap and it's not going to be an epic failure. It's going to be okay. I've got plan B, C, D, E, F, and G. Done.
That's fantastic. I always, when in doubt, I put the word robust in, Jess.
Oh, I'll fit that in somewhere. Thanks,
Yeah,
Tara.
no, this is a robust protocol. No idea what that means, but it's a great word. That's next life. When I design my perfume, it's going to be called robust. It's like you put it on and it like stinks out a building, right? So that's what we do, Jess. You are so proud of you, Jess. Let's go to legendary Josh. Now, Josh, what an inspirational human being you are. Let me just put that out there, Josh. All right, mate. Now, what are you? I've read your stuff, mate. It's unbelievable. So what are you working on at the moment, Josh?
It's been a really nice week, actually. I don't know why, but I randomly decided that I'm going to have another go at reading a Mandarin journal article. I've been learning Mandarin all year.
Yes.
And really emotionally, I can do it now. So I can access that literature. So I've been writing my first Mandarin paper. So it's very slow, but just a couple of articles through the week and I'm getting notes down on it. And yeah, it's been a big goal for me to be able to read that literature and not just put my Western perspectives on the country. Yeah, so it's really exciting and I'm loving it. I think it's brilliant literature.
Anybody else sort of emotional and just you are an inspiration to us, Josh? And people talk a lot about international higher education while they're reading and writing purely in English. And we thank you so much for what you're doing. It's an incredible feeling. I've only had it a couple of times in my life when one can read academic work in a different language, and it does something to your brain, does something to your ontology, but it keeps you humble, keeps you you realize how much there is left to learn, and that's a good way to be, I think, Josh. Oh, and Gay straight.
It's been amazing. Yeah.
Oh, you're amazing, Josh. Go, Queen Gay.
I've learned 15 languages. The epitome is when you are reading a language, it's going into your brain and you don't realize which language it is.
Oh, wow.
That is just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near that in just about anything. But Gay, you're unbelievable. But I mean, this is what life is about. This is what life is about, getting beyond yourself, beyond your opinion, beyond your vibe, and challenging yourself to be better. And Josh, you do that every single week. And look, Mary's standing up. So can we go to Mary? Mary's standing up. Mary's had it. Mary's had it. I love you, Mary. Now, Mary, what were you writing on? This is my favorite bit. Whenever I see you, Mary, what are you writing on? You got that whiteboard, which I'm obsessed with. Talk to me, Mary.
I've got 3 of them actually, and they're all covered, but I'm still not quite, even though I've submitted, I'm still not quite game to interrupt the jus until I get the examiner's report back. But so my supervisor said that was forthcoming soon. But in the meantime, I'm tidying up an abstract for a symposium presentation with what's the name? The department with the university research team.
Oh, that's fantastic. What's the symposium on? I'm a bit obsessed by symposia, Mary.
I'm glad you asked. Okay. Wait on.
I live vicariously through you, Mary. That's why.
I'm back at you, totally.
Oh, no, mate.
Outside the bubble, how does my research change lives? So, and I sort of, I fluffed around a little. I just did a tiny little bit in my first abstract, and then they sent back, but you need to link it to the research and to the symposium. Like, yeah, I know I did, but I didn't. So yeah, so I've just got to sort of just tweak. That's the only thing they picked up, so that was good.
Oh, Mary, that's brilliant. And Mary, just squint a bit, put your tongue in a particular direction, and you'll get the connection. You'll get the. Oh, and Mary, how long have we got? We've been under examination for you, what, 7 weeks? 6?
No, it's coming up to 7. Well, it's got to be back on the 17th of November.
Well, it was close, yeah.
So
I am monitoring it. So good energy, good energy, good energy, good energy.
Thank you very much, Tara.
Very excited. Very excited. Should we go to our wonderful Susan L? Susan, as always, I mean, what an inspirational day, what an inspirational night for you. Tell us what you're doing, wonderful Susan.
Well, I added some citations to the article that I was working on, the one that I've been working on about the woman who was shot and had all these terrible things done to her, but her name was never listed in the article.
Yes.
And this was what, 1918 article?
Wow.
And, that was the way that women were referred, who were married. Married women were referred to in their husbands' names only, never by their own name. So you have no, unless somebody comes along later and does research to figure out who this woman is, no one will know in the future who she was. So I did that. That's the research that I did. So what I did was I went through some journalism history to find out where this came from and why, how did they get rid of it? I know they did that here in the States. I don't know the extent to which it was done in other countries where English common law, was.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have a lot of citations. I've been doing a lot of reading. So I added a paragraph and I added some more citations.
Oh, Susan, that's amazing. And look, Susan, one of the weirdest articles I ever wrote was about what was not in the historical record. So I found a very interesting Art Deco designer that had left like 2 little fingerprints or 3 little fingerprints on the record, often with their connection with somebody who was quite famous, but sort of nothing else. So I did exactly what you're doing, Susan, obviously not as well as you're doing it, but looking at the spaces that were left and trying to get those spaces smaller, maybe not solving the problem, but finding that tissue of connectivity to just try and fill in the historical record a bit. It's amazing work that you're doing, Susan. It's detective work, really, but it changes knowledge, this stuff.
It's changing my mind because I'm now, you know, ever since I started with this project, I mean, I heard about it before, you know, I heard about things like this before, but because I'm actually working in it now, I'm starting to wonder how many inventions, how many books, how many poems, how many movies, how many of everything were actually made, invented, written, whatever, by women. But because of the way the laws were in those days, they could not be listed as the originator, as the author. Yeah. And you know, there, you know, in literature, there, George, what's her name? George Sand, and you know, other people would have to go in men's names in order to get their work published. And just making connections, like there's like an entire half of humanity, almost, because not everyone's was married. Okay. Half of humanity was left out.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't a new thing to me, but it's a new thing to write about it for me.
And look, Susan, it's powerful. There's lots of ways of thinking about women and men and non-binary identifying colleagues and all the wonderful plurality that we've got. But at its most basic, I suppose, all feminism was trying to do was just say that women are complete humans. That just right. Women are complete humans, and we don't need any other genitalia in or around us to render us complete. That a woman is a fully fleshed human. And once we get there, I think we're cool, but I still think we're probably a little bit away from that as well. And then we've got to loan all sorts of care and respect and responsibility to all sorts of non-binary identifying trans crew, but also we need to sort of just remember there's a bunch of women that are still not configured as fully human, and the work you're doing is enabling that journey.
We'll see.
Oh, you are the best, Susan. Thank you for joining us from New York City, and we'll go to Queen Bree if we can. I know Bree's got a fantastic community around her. Bree, do you want to say?
I was just about to type. I've got to go. The kids need me.
Okay, that's all right. And
on that note,
you're okay? You're all right?
No, I'm not okay, but I'm well, thank you. That's a very normal response for me. I was writing about, oh, there we go. My chair's being, do you know what, a Friday afternoon, because in Melbourne, our times have changed. This is lunchtime, so it's not great for writing. I've done most of my writing this morning. So Pippa's here, she's pulling my chair away and I need to go.
Darling, you go. It's been lovely to spend the morning.
I was writing on ontology and how my ontology need to put it in the context of healthcare.
You're wonderful, darling.
Thank you.
Look after Pippa. You take care, Bree. You're doing brilliantly. Bless her.
See ya.
She's an exciting woman, can I say? An exciting woman. Can we go to the other Susan in our lives, the wonderful Susan M. Now, Susan joining us from Jamaica. Darling one, oh, you look gorgeous too. I love that top. So, Susan, what were you working on, darling?
Well, can you believe that what I talked about 2 weeks ago, at the moment, I was trying to find it, I couldn't find it. So instead of panicking, like either have to do it all over from scratch or find it another time, I said, let me find something to work on. And I've listened to, as you may know, I've listened to a lot of your blogs. So I thought, okay, let's see, what can I pull from quickly? And as I'm trying to think what to pull from, I met with the president of my university today, and I mentioned a presentation I gave earlier this year. So I said, let me just pull that one up. So I had it as notes. And then I wrote down 3 potential outputs that, well, it's really 2, but 3 things to do. And then I bulleted additional data I want to gather and then the methods that would be related to those research questions. And that's because basically that was about 12 minutes, because the first 15 minutes was really trying to find a document I couldn't find. And instead of panicking, I just went to this project. So by the way, this is about creating healthy environments at higher education institutions for and by employees. So just to give you a context, I do have a master's in public health. So
You
this
do?
is not like,
You do.
yeah, so yeah, and I did it at the place where I work. And
You are unbelievable, Susan. Unbelievable. But let's write
but
that
I
up.
have, what's that?
Let's
Yeah,
write
so
that up.
I listened to you. You said everything that you present and you write up. I'm like, well, how do you do it? So I thought, well, but you see, because of what you said in office hours, where you were, I would call it bashing opinion. So is it that you think that opinion pieces in journal articles have no value? Because you were saying opinions are not good. I was listening to you earlier.
Oh,
Is it that? I mean, if it's reference from journal pieces, do you think there some opinion pieces have some value?
Oh,
Question
look,
mark?
Of course they do, Susan. My worry about the planet at the moment is certain opinions are being rendered equivalent to other people's evidence. So we need to respect research, respect what you're doing, Susan. You're doing incredible work on public health, right? So respect the research, respect your expertise, and not allow some random with a view on Twitter to have that tweet as equivalent to your expertise, Susan.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, so and you're probably out of time, but I'm actually curious about feasibility studies. So maybe if you're out of time, I have a question about feasibility studies. I'm throwing back to the office hours. I don't know if you want to go through everybody and then come back to me.
Oh, darling, I will.
Yes,
no, well, actually, darling, talk now.
So earlier you had this interesting discussion about a number of things, and I was fascinated by the discussion about feasibility versus am I still here?
Yes, still there, baby, still there.
Okay, great. No, my phone needs to charge. Yeah, my feasibility versus, like more souped up studies I can think of, effectiveness, or depending on the project.
Yes.
And what I find shocking, so I'm currently in my first ever interdisciplinary study. So we're having the first meeting with the funders tomorrow. So UK and Jamaica people. So I'm in the first study, and that study is a feasibility study. And the person who invited me to be in the study is a Jamaican full professor. And he's like, oh, this is a little bit of money, but he's been in a million studies, he's like you, lots of publications. He's a full professor for years, supervises many PhD students, even though he only has he's a psychiatrist. He has the highest qualification. So he has a doctorate, but not a PhD. So he supervises PhDs to conclusion, many.
Yes.
And people with the other thing that he has. And he says, oh, but this is small money. And when I convert to Jamaican money, I go, wait, it's a feasibility study, and that's a lot of money in Jamaica that could be enough to do a full randomized control trial or something else like that, and you can never get that money easily.
Exactly.
And I go, but at least by being part of the study, hopefully I will learn to do these kind of fully funded feasibility studies.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking as I've listened to the meeting today is I don't know how to, I know I should be, I should be completely self-motivated, and my self-worth should all be based on a number of things that has not to do with my output. But here's the problem. You have everything. Some people they're going ahead and late at life, they're doing their PhD. And then there are other people like this wonderful young man earlier who is working on his academic CV, and he probably has more publications than me. And I kind of go, where do I fit in this puzzle? Because I still don't know how, I know the research process, but I still don't know how to get big grants for myself. I still don't have a long list of academic publications. So my academic CV is not impressive from outside of a Jamaican context. And when I see all of those things, I go, what do I do next? So I'm just puzzled. So do you see where I'm
I do. Susan, you are a spectacular human just as you are. You run your own lane. Don't you dare compare your fabulousness to some other random down the corridor, Susan. You are, I've known you for a lot of years, Susan. You are a splendid human being and you are where you need to be now. So we just simply start from where we are now. And the reason, Susan, that Doe is thrown at feasibility studies is because in many ways they produce easy outputs and easy outcomes.
They do.
And that's why Jess was sort of like, oh, well, let's go into a feasibility study. It's easier. And when so many clinical trials in particular fail, and the failure rates of particular clinical trials, they don't even publicize because it's so horrific.
That's true.
And of course, they're not.
And so and then there's bias in publications because you don't publish it, and there's a whole problem. Yeah, you know the whole drill.
Correct. So, Susan, that's why feasibility studies, get yourself on that team. That's fantastic. And just aim for momentum. All we do is you're exactly where you need to be. Let's just one foot in front of the other, write up all the magnificent presentations that you've done, and that'll get us moving.
Okay. Thank you very much for your feedback.
Oh, Susan, you're precious to us. And speaking of precious, the other person who a bit of my heart lives in this woman's body. Good morning, Edith. I love you. You know it. Good morning, Edith.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I've got a story about a feasibility study too.
Tell us.
So I've been advised to do a feasibility study and managed to write up the protocol and even had a grant. But interestingly, I'm still waiting for RGOs, so the Research Governance Officers, site specific approval. So almost a year into it, I've been thinking, I think I'll be finishing this PhD without the feasibility study even starting.
Jess, did you hear that? The PhD is going to be finished before the feasibility study starts.
So what are you going to do the PhD on?
So what I was actually writing on today is I was looking at the tools that I was going to be addressing in my feasibility study. And because the feasibility study hasn't started yet, it's not like I haven't done any work about exploring what we were going to be finding. The feasibility study was just going to prove some of the things I already knew we were going to show. And so I'm looking at perioperative outcomes, patient experience outcomes, and we're going to be using historical tools or mainstream tools, but my work is being completed in the Northern Territory, where majority of the patients are First Nations people. So these tools have been validated worldwide, but not specifically in the First Nations population. So for me to say I'm going to use different tools was outrageous. But I feel like I do need to not waste people's time. So I've been exploring these tools with the First Nations co-researchers. And what I'm doing now is looking at writing a paper, which is going to explain how validating mainstream tools is not necessarily what's needed.
So Jess, just the end of our 2 hours of our conversation this morning, do you see how the co-design has ended up being sort of the most important part of this feasibility study before the feasibility study's even been approved?
So can I jump in here and just ask, so you've done this research proposal, I've said I'm going to do this feasibility study or this pilot or whatever. It can change. That's still really unclear to me, that what I say now I have to do, because if I say it, it gets done. But a PhD journey is different and I need to shift my thinking around that. Is that right?
Yes. So, darling, if the definition of research is we don't know what's going to happen. If we knew what was going to happen, it would be the Housewives of Melbourne. Okay. Right.
Yep.
We don't know what's going to, and Edith has done this beautiful, delicate thesis. It's delicate, and the outcomes are startling. Edith, do you want to just finish your wonderful points? How did the writing go? You're comfortable with it? You're excited by it?
Well, it's coming along because a lot of this is exploring things I never knew were there, and I have a very quantitative background, and it's actually the whole journey, my PhD journey. It was going to be a quantitative PhD with data. And once I started working with co-researchers, co-designers, I actually realized that my work on data or quantitative data did not address the value that First Nations people had in perioperative outcomes. So my PhD's changed focus. It's gone from quantitative to being mixed. And I'm looking at my papers now, and they're actually mostly qualitative. And I'm okay with that.
Edith, we love you. You've changed lives today, Edith. You've changed lives. Look at Jess's face. Jess will take some minutes to recover from your expertise. We love you, Edith. You are a spectacular human. And look, we'll finish. We missed her last week. We'll finish with the finisher, the blessing that is Dina. Dina, you've now got a very stroppy, aggressive supervisor, I've heard, that's helping you with your project. She's an absolute cow, I've heard. So tell us what you were writing on, darling.
I already submitted 3 chapters. Now I'm doing my result chapter. But before, just replying to Jess also, when I did my COC, I was heavily criticized on my practitioner background because I thought it could be of value to the research, but the examiner didn't think so. So that was the one thing that they criticized me heavily on. And although it humbled me, it also left me demotivated in some sense, and which wasted my 2 years. And I just started writing all my research in the last 6 months of my candidature. So that was horrific experience for me. But what made me write is then when Tara said, if they said it was a weakness, then you make it, you write it in your thesis. So I think that helped me a lot, because then I put it in my methodology chapter where I explain my epistemology and the ontology, which influenced the research. So I'm doing it in a pragmatic lens, because that's what my experience taught me about. So yeah, I was alluding to what you said. You just put the most criticized thing of the research inside your writing, and somehow it then justifies the result of the research. For that is my personal experience. So yeah, now I'm doing my discussion chapters. So, and listening to Paul and Damien on their approach to drama. So I was and also listening to Tara about storytelling, how storytelling is sense making, how you make and remake the meaning. So when the result chapter, I just put there the findings, but then in the discussion chapter, I want to highlight that the storytelling and threading a line from the introduction to the methodology section, and then in the result. So I'm dividing it into 3 subsection when I have an epilogue on how this research is viewing how the villages are sustaining from a pragmatic lenses. Pragmatic is more of a problem solving lens. So it's not a realist lens. It's not an utopia idealist lens. But because you're having a disaster, you want to know the quick answer. So it's more of a problem solving in a very difficult setting. So that's the epilogue, and then it will take you through the storyline where we discuss how KSV is sustaining, what factor contributes that, and how they are learning from their experience to say that they want to sustain, that this is a very good organization, that the community needs us, and that's why we are sustaining, although we are not paid in any way, although we are facing death risk, although sometimes in a lot of occasion the community doesn't appreciate our work, but we still want to sustain. So that's the second section. And then the third one is how I'm proposing a interactive diagram and how it will fit with the bigger or existing disaster management body of knowledge. In grounded theory, you don't necessarily have to have like a lot of theory, because grounded theory is when there is not a lot of study that has been done into that theme. And because disaster is very new, it's very interdisciplinary. It exists because we have this accumulative experience of responding to disaster, and then we study it properly in an academic lens. So it's still very new, but I wanted, also listening to Tara about positioning, I wanted to see where is the position of this diagram in the larger body of knowledge. So that is what I'm writing right now.
Dina, you are absolutely inspirational. I can see Jess is like, you've changed. Jess has had a morning. Jess has had a morning, and we've walked with Jess this morning. But Dina, you are precious to us. Let's write this discussion chapter up. And colleagues, I thank you so much for being with me. It's been a precious morning. Edith, a big chunk of my heart lives in your body. You know that. Colleagues, have a lovely rest of the day. Paul, sleep well. And to our Susan, sleep well as well. You are spectacular to us. Blessings to you. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.